What's happening, y'all, and welcome into HouseOfSparky.com's football show. He's Troy Lynch. I'm Blaine McCormick. The Sun Devils coming off a California trip that ended in a loss, 44-37. Troy, I got to ask you, this game was critical for the Sun Devils. What happened in it?
Well, I tell you what didn't happen, and that's defense. 81 total points scored in just one game. That's a lot, so that means we have a lot of highlights. Let's get right into it. The Sun Devils going flower shopping down at the Rose Bowl, taking on the UCLA Bruins. First quarter action coming at you. DeMario Richard, 2-yard TD run right up the gut. That's his 7th touchdown of the season, leading the team. Sun Devils up 14-0 in the first quarter, and after a pick six, Rosen fakes everybody out, takes it in 1 yard. Now it's tied 14-14. That means one dab from Joe Bruin. Now quarterback Manny Wilkins taking it. Super Manny strikes again, soaring over his foes and putting up 6 more points on the scoreboard. 16-yard TD run. Now they're up 21-14, up until Soso Jamabo playing hide and seek with this ASU defense, appearing in the end zone. And now the score 27-21. And now Joe Bruin back again, not with one dab, but with 2. Now, quarter 3, UCLA ready to punt, but it's blocked by Malik Law, picked up by the freshman Eno Benjamin, returns it 9 yards for the TD. This is a ball game, folks. Tied at 34, but Josh Rosen, there's a reason he's going to be an NFL star one day. 22-yard dime to Jordan Lasley, #Dagger. And that's the final score, 44-37. UCLA takes the victory, and ASU falls to 4-3 in Pac12 play. UCLA still perfect at home with Rosen's 381 yards, and Joe Bruin can dab his way home. Another game where Arizona State was projected to win, but they come up with a loss in Pasadena. A lot of questions to be answered, but that's why we bring in analyst Julian POTUS to answer those questions. Now, Julian, this is a really interesting scenario because Josh Rosen 2 weeks ago against Utah did not play and the Bruins got blown out. All of a sudden, he comes back against Arizona State and he puts up 44 points and gets the W. I know he's an elite quarterback, but is he that big of a difference maker?
Well, he definitely played the part.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Let's look back at his game.
Okay.
Rosen, he threw for about 381 yards. He picked up a touchdown. And even Todd Graham, he praised him, as a matter of fact. He said that he's a great player. They should have picked him up about maybe 4 or 5 times throughout the course of that game.
Sure.
But he said, and I quote, he's going to get his yards, and he definitely got his yards in that show.
Definitely got his yards, and this is not the first time that Arizona State has had to go up against elite passer. I mean, they have to go up against Jake Browning, and Sam Darnold picked up a win and then a loss. So the defense, they knew what was coming, but they still gave up 44 points. How would you evaluate this ASU defensive performance?
I don't think that the defense is showing any sort of weakness. I mean, we saw the same defense go up against a very highly ranked Washington team.
Right.
We also saw them go up against Oregon, which they won in a 2-point game.
Good point.
And they also beat Utah by 20 points and held them to 10 points throughout the course of that game.
Yeah.
A couple of things that I saw in that matchup is that they didn't match up very well against the run game, which was very unexpected by the UCLA offense.
Agree.
And another thing was the man coverage. They gave up 381 yards to Rosen.
That was that definitely hurt them for sure.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I think everybody, when they were watching the game, they were surprised at how much they ran the ball and how effective they were.
Absolutely.
But you knew coming into this game that the UCLA defense, one of the bottom defenses in the Pac-12, but Arizona State offensively still can't get the win. How do you rate ASU's performance offensively?
And the performance against UCLA?
Yes.
It was fantastic.
Whoa, okay.
It really was.
All right.
And this is why. Manny Wilkins threw for 290 yards. He picked up 2 touchdowns. He threw for 1, rushed for another.
Yeah.
DeMario Richards, he threw for 100. He rushed.
Ran.
Rushed for 125 yards, almost a third of the ASU's total rushing yards. And let me bring up some team stats really quick.
Please do.
ASU picked up 584 total yards, compared to UCLA's 573.
Okay.
They also converted on 29 first downs compared to UCLA's 25.
Yeah.
And looking back at that, I also already mentioned the rushing game, but looking back at that game, they converted and they showed every sort of tool in their offensive arsenal.
Yeah.
But at the end of the night, it was the big plays by UCLA that really put the nail in the coffin. But I don't think that Arizona State should feel worried in any sort of way. They know that they have to make changes, and I really do think that they're going to be able to execute.
Yeah, an interesting stat. Arizona State actually ran 20 more plays total than the UCLA offense. So that's something to think about. But Julian, thanks so much for being here with us. If you want more of his work, make sure you go to HouseOfSparky.com. And Arizona State going up against Oregon State. That's later today.
With the most recent loss, many fans are questioning if the Sun Devils will have a deja vu of last season and not make a bowl game. So much rides on the Sun Devils' last 2 games. If they want to get to a bowl game, they've got to win at least one. Now, Oregon State has not won a conference game this season, but neither did Arizona last year, and they whooped the Sun Devils 56-35. Corvallis, kind of a trap for ASU. They haven't won there in over a decade, and the cold weather definitely affects them. Even more bad news, they come back home the next week to face a sizzling Wildcats team that accumulates almost 350 average rushing yards per game. Most of that on the heels of quarterback Khalil Tate. So to avoid being bowlless, one of these games has to be a win. And that's just to crack the bare minimum for a program that prides itself on success. Now to switch into a more positive light, wide receiver Nikhil Harry has wowed fans with his crazy catches and brute strength. But he isn't finished perfecting his craft just yet. I caught up with the sophomore earlier this week and found what makes him so talented. Catches like these seem to be a commonality with sophomore wide receiver Nikhil Harry, yet he can't even explain the strategy behind it.
I really don't even think about anything. It's like something takes over my body and I just go and get it. It's hard to explain. You know, I was telling Manny and Coach to just trust me. You know, I had seen the safety kind of roaming back there the whole game, and I told him, I said, just throw the ball, and regardless if there's a safety or not, double team or not, I'll come down with it. So I really took pride in that, and I knew Manny trusted me, and so I just had to come down with it one way or another.
Harry was the #1 wide receiver recruit in the ESPN 300 and the top prospect in the state of Arizona. His talent sets him apart, but he's still got a long ways to go.
Right now, I'll give myself like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10, mainly because, you know, I played good with the ball, and I made some catches that I wanted to make, but there's a lot of plays out there that I didn't make.
Got a unique skill set. He's big, he's physical, he's got great ball skills, he's difficult to tackle. But like most young players, attention to detail, self-discipline, understanding the big picture, learning how to keep your composure and poise at critical times. All these things are things that he's going through and learning.
This year, Harry has 5 receiving touchdowns, already matching the season total he had a year ago. He also has racked up almost 900 receiving yards on 66 receptions. Many of his catches have come from what people are calling the 50-50 balls, but the odds usually lean Harry's way.
You know, you see a lot of receivers, they'll jump, and then actually on their way back down is when they're trying to catch the ball, but he has great anticipation, knows exactly how to time his jump to where he can high point it and get his hands.
Getting coached by Coach Likens is real difficult at times, especially because he nitpicks at every single thing. But at the end of the day, it's going to make me the player I want to be and the player I know I can be in the near future.
Harry has also shown his versatility, switching into the Sparky formation and even throwing a passing touchdown in the game against Stanford.
I don't want to be a player that's known for just going all out when my name is called. I want to be someone that can block for DeMario, Kalen, and Treylon and help them score touchdowns.
Sun Devil fans can expect a lot of good things from the sophomore, as he is the most targeted receiver on the roster. For HouseOfSparky.com, I'm Blaine McCormick reporting.
Well, obviously, Nikhil Harry has probably been the biggest pro that the Sun Devils have had all season long, and that's why he got put up on the back monitor. Look at that shot. That's so intimidating.
Yeah,
Great
right?
shot, Blaine.
Thank you. And when he talked to me the other day, he said that they didn't want to talk to the Bruins defense. During the USC game, they got a little chippy with them, but that, just a silent, hello, I'm catching this.
He didn't have to say anything.
No,
That's fantastic. Well, that's what we're doing right now, pros and cons. So this week, Blaine's Nikhil Harry, and I'm Spencer with cons. So I think I'll get things started. You know, Arizona State obviously lost, and they couldn't beat a team that got blown out by Utah.
Yeah.
Utah's a bottom-tier team in the Pac12 South right now, so that just says kind of a lot. And, looking at the future schedule, Oregon State and Arizona makes you a little bit nervous if you're a Sun Devil fan.
It definitely makes you nervous, but what shouldn't make you nervous is the special teams that this team has.
Good point.
Did you remember that block punt?
Malik Law.
Malik
Absolutely.
Law diving on in there, and then Benjamin just scoops it up. That's his second touchdown in just 2 games that he's appeared in. He's incredible, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with for this Sun Devil team as they approach their final 2 games.
Now my second con, I already mentioned the future schedule, but Oregon State, yes, they haven't won a conference game yet, but they are a very dangerous team. Hearing the coordinator say it at practice just the other day, and you can tell they are not taking the Beavers lightly. They almost beat Stanford at home. I believe the score is 15-14, and Stanford, they just beat Washington. So this is a scary situation for the Sun Devils, just because they could lose, and that could be the bowl game, and that could be the season.
Right, and it is a scary situation. I'll agree with you on that, Troy.
Cool.
And a lot of projectionists, a lot of analysts have picked Arizona State to win this game. So you mentioned the one against Stanford that the Beavers actually were the victors in. Stanford was without Bryce Love that game. You've probably heard of Bryce Love. But Oregon State, they haven't won a conference game yet. They haven't won a game in the Pac12 South, or the Pac12 North, excuse me. So this is a good situation for the Sun Devils to go up there. They're already facing a team that's kind of in shambles right now.
A little bit.
And with their last 2 games, they're going to have that fire in order to beat the Beavers.
This reminds me, and this will be my last con, but this reminds me of last year when Arizona State had to go up against U of A at the end of the season, and the Wildcats, they only won 1 game up until they played Arizona State last season, and they routed them 56-35, I believe the score was. So it wasn't even close, and now they're way better. They're second in the Pac12 South, and Khalil Tate, I think he should be the Heisman. I don't care what anybody else does. That guy's unbelievable. So that's my last con. I'll leave it at that. Scary situation just because it's happened in the past.
Without question, the Wildcats are a good team this year, much better than they were last year, and no question Khalil Tate is very talented. But a lot of players on this Arizona State team have that talent to bring. Look at the guy behind me, Nikhil Harry. He's a monster out there, and he had that crazy catch that he was just staring down at the defender. I know you keep on eyeing that.
I know,
picture.
it's just so cool to look at. I like it.
But he also had a touchdown in the previous game. He's had 5 passing touchdowns, already matching what he did his freshman year. This is the time where Arizona State needs to light the fire. They may not make a bowl game. That should put some motivation behind you. You're facing a team that hasn't won a Pac-12 game yet this season. That's got to put some fire behind you too. Plus, you're playing your rivals at home this year during a day game. You have to be able to win at least one of these games if you want to go on to play another one come December, early January. But that'll do it for pros and cons for this. We're going to send it over to Max, who has a recap of what happened to the Pac-12 last weekend. Max, what do you got for us?
Thanks, guys. Well, 10 weeks have come and gone, but we still don't have a clear picture of who the 2 best teams in the Pac-12 Conference really are. After nearing a complete stranglehold on the weekly power rankings for Week 10 on houseofsparky.com, the Washington Huskies fell in Palo Alto to Heisman frontrunner Bryce Love and the Stanford Cardinal. Love continued his unbelievable campaign with 166 yards and 3 touchdowns as the number 22 Cardinal upset the number 16 Huskies. The USC Trojans took care of business in Boulder last Saturday, buying 329 yards and 2 touchdowns from quarterback Sam Darnold and 142 yards on the ground from running back Ronald Jones. With the victory, Clay Helton's program has clinched the Pac12 South. Elsewhere in the conference, you guessed it, Khalil Tate exploded for 206 yards on the ground in Corvallis as the Arizona Wildcats crushed Oregon State 49-28, and the number 15 Washington State Cougars survived a late scare in Salt Lake to improve to 9-2. That's it for Around the Pac-12. I'll send it back to you, Troy.
Thanks, Max. Great stuff, but now we need to take a deeper look into the Pac-12 South because things are getting out of hand in a good way, of course. So get this, the Trojans have already clinched a spot in the Pac-12 championship game. So why are other teams even playing? Pretty much for bowl eligibility. Arizona State may be staying in the 3rd spot in the standings because UCLA plays USC for the victory bell this Saturday, and the Trojans are ranked 11th in the country. That'll be a tough game for the Bruins, but you never know with college football anymore. And the Sun Devils are praying for the Ducks to upset the Wildcats in Eugene. Those chances don't look great. However, they are getting Justin Herbert back from that broken collarbone, so that'll make things interesting. But they're coming off of bye week, so make sure you watch that game. We only have 1 more week left of college football, so just watch every game. None shall pass. Words of Gandalf the Grey from Lord of the Rings, but it also should be the motto of ASU's punt block unit. The Sun Devils co-lead all Power 5 conferences with 5 blocked punts, and the Sun Devils struck again in Pasadena because of that man right there, Malik Law. Malik is a redshirt sophomore and hasn't seen a ton of playing time, recording 7 tackles this season, mainly because there's a guy named Christian Sam in front of him who leads the Pac-12 in tackles. He's a linebacker, but plays a large part in the special teams unit and is making the most of his opportunity. With almost 2 minutes left in the third quarter against the Bruins, the Sun Devils are down by 7, ready to receive a punt. Law lined up on the right side, and you would assume someone would at least make an attempt to try to block him. But no. He went untouched and blocked the punt with his chest, pushing the ball back 24 yards before freshman Eno Benjamin scooped it up and returned it 9 yards to tie the game at 34. When you re-watch the play, after ASU scored, all of the attention went to Benjamin. But I'm here to tell you that it was Law that came up big for the Sun Devils when they needed it. Even though the block wasn't enough to help Arizona State win, we saw the consistency of the special teams unit and how badly Law wants to stay onto the field. And that's why Malik Law is our feel-good story of the week.
Thanks so much, Troy, for the feel-good story of the week. Now, we like to talk a lot of football on this show, but we also like to show some, and that's why we bring in Austin Burnett to break down some film of this Oregon State offense and the defense as well. So, Austin, upon first impressions, what really stands out to you about this Oregon State team?
Well, there's a few weaknesses in the secondary, as I'm going to show you on this play, but there's also one really good strength on their offense. Well, Blaine, as you're going to see on this play, you're going to have man coverage on the corner on the bottom, and you're going to have zone coverage with the corner on the top. Now, as Ross Bowers drops back to pass, he's going to drop a dime to his wide receiver, but my biggest concern is the corner right here. Look how far he got beat off the ball. His only assignment is that one receiver, and he's in man coverage, so that's his only assignment. Yeah, you have the safety help over the top, but that's a big concern for Oregon State. It leads to a touchdown, and as we go into this next play, we're going to see an offensive play. Now, it's going to be Oregon State's going to pull this one out of the back of the playbook, and it's going to be a backwards pass to wide receiver Tuli William-Matagi, and he throws it to Ryan Nall. Now, again, a big concern, a big pro for the Oregon offense is they got him wide open, and there were 3 players in coverage, so it's like, they got him to, you know what they were doing right there? They were ball watching. So that's one strength for the Oregon State Beavers right there, and a touchdown for Ryan Nall. Now, what we got here is called an RPO. It's a run-pass option. And Ross Bowers is going to read the linebacker Key Wetzel on the left side of your screen. If Wetzel decides to key on the running back, Vic and Weary, then he's going to leave the slot receiver open. But if he keys on the slot receiver, then it frees up a running lane for Vic and Weary up the middle. Wetzel plays the wide receiver, hesitates, and just like a Wetzel's pretzel, he's twisted up and sauced by the kickout blocker, takes him out of the play, and it's a touchdown for Weary.
Austin, you made me laugh with the Wetzel pretzel reference. I like that. I used to eat those all the time as a kid.
Yeah, I used to eat those all the time when I was back home at the South Bend Mall. Very good pretzels, very good.
Very good indeed. But let's talk about this game a little bit more. What do you think is going to need to happen for the Sun Devils in order for them to jump ahead of the Beavers early?
Well, I think they're going to have to get the ball to Nikhil Harry early and often. If Nikhil Harry is lined up on the left side of the offense, I think if they motion him over to the right side, get him matched up on that left side corner, then that's going to be one of the advantages for the Sun Devils, and they're going to have to get the ball to him early and often if they're going to have success. Yeah, you have to dish it around with the running backs as well, but I feel like if they get the ball to Nikhil Harry, give him some lobs up in the end zone, down in the red zone, I think that's going to be a key for them.
Real quick before I let you go, what's your final score prediction?
I want to go 38-24 Sun Devils, and that's if they get the ball to Nikhil Harry early and often.
All right, well, Austin's prediction is in favor of the Sun Devils. Thanks so much for being here, man. But like I mentioned earlier, these are 2 must-win games for the Sun Devils as they head to Corvallis, Oregon and take on the Beavers like we were just talking about. They haven't won in Reser Stadium in over a decade, so we'll see how this one plays out for them. And then the next week, they take on the steam engine of Arizona, who lead the Pac-12 in scoring offense, rushing offense, and interceptions, just to name a few. These final 2 games are vital as 2017 inches to a close. Moving on to our Pac12 Top Plays of the week, we'll take a look at Bryce Love and the game that he had against Washington. 30 attempts for him on the ground, 166 yards and 3 touchdowns, much similar to the one we're just seeing. He had an awesome performance and a leading guy in the Heisman runnings. Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week, and it's no surprise for him that he earns our 3rd spot on our Pac-12 Top Plays.
Play number 2, Khalil Tate pulling the "Do you know who I am" card. Get off me! he says. Makes that Beaver eat turf. Goes into the end zone, a 19-yard TD run. Look at this one more time. Supposed to get tackled, no siree. This guy is crazy. Also a Heisman candidate.
Hey, we'll keep with the quarterback theme as Manny Wilkins finds an open hole and runs with it and whoop over the defender into the end zone with the hurdle. We've seen that from him a few times this year. Let's take another look in slow motion. Quite the performance from him in this game as well. Maybe he should try out for the track team, Troy, because he just earned our first spot on the Pac12 Top Plays of the Week. Quite the celebration there. Well, each of those top plays came courtesy of the Russian. This game should be a good one in terms of the ground game because the Sun Devils, they've got DeMario Richard, Cam Balaj, even, Benjamin coming out of his shell. But the Oregon State Beavers, Ryan Nall, got to watch out for.
I know, and there's a lot riding on this game too. Arizona State looking to get into a bowl game, and the Beavers, they're just looking for a conference win. That's all they're asking for. But that's all the time we have here at houseofsparky.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. He's Blaine McCormick. I'm Troy Lynch. If you want more coverage, go to houseofsparky.com. But Arizona State, Oregon State, that's happening today up in Corvallis. Make sure you watch it.